Morning, Irene. Welcome to Advent. Many of you will at least be familiar with your face, maybe with your name, and maybe they even know how to spell your last name. Irene is with HART, serves on the board, and those amongst you who have participated in one way or the other in the winter sanctuary, you can't help but know Irene, because she keeps coming almost every day, bringing supplies, bringing encouragement, bringing love, and checking in with our guests. So, Okay, so I promised a lapel mic. Sorry, instead.
All right. I'll try to be coordinated.
Okay, so instead of a typical sermon where one person is talking, we will have two-person talk. Imagine a little fireplace, if you will, in the sweltering heat. And we are having a fireside chat. So, Irene, can you tell us a bit more about yourself, where you grew up, who's in your family, your work experience, and your religious background, too?
All right, thank you. Is it on?
Yeah.
Okay. My name is Irene Hronicek. I have been a resident here in Citrus Heights with my husband and family for over 30 years. And I grew up in Carmichael. My parents, thank heavens, are still alive there, and they are active and attending at Our Lady of the Assumption Catholic Church. That's where I went to grade school, and I went to high school at Mercy High School over here on Coyle Avenue. Some of you might remember it there. It's now a parking lot and the oncology center. So my high school isn't there any longer. But I have local history here. After high school, I went to college, I went to work, and my background is over 30 years of banking experience, managing and growing small to medium-sized businesses and business relationships. And I didn't realize that my sales experience, cold calling and knocking on doors and asking for the business would end up being my preparation for knocking on doors and asking generous churches like Advent Lutheran to open their doors for a week each year to welcome 30 of our closest friends, and oh, by the way, can we spend the night? So that experience has served me quite well, and I'm thankful for the learning over the many years.
You mentioned already one parish, you're a member of another one here.
Yes.
And can you tell us a little bit how you're involved in your current parish?
My husband and I attend at Holy Family Catholic Church just down the road, and we've been there since we've moved to Citrus Heights. I'm what we affectionately call a revert. I grew up in the Catholic faith. I attended Catholic school, learned a lot of things, but I was not alive in my faith. And it wasn't until my two sons were active in the youth ministry there at Holy Family that I became acquainted with the youth minister, and I was always amazed at how much she knew and what she offered to the teenagers and the young adults. And she brought me alive in my faith just through inviting me to help offer the faith to the younger kids. So I got it in smaller bites. I got interested and started taking more classes. I attended University of Sacramento, became an advanced catechist. I have also assisted now in, at Holy Family, I helped with many liturgical ministries, with sacristan and Eucharistic minister, extraordinary Eucharistic minister, and the food closet, pancake breakfast, all these different kinds of outreach. And I think that all prepared me and strengthened me for going out into beyond the parking lot, as we say, and ministering actually within our city of Citrus Heights. I love living in the city of Citrus Heights, and it's grown to be very important.
And how did you first get involved with HART?
Well, many years ago, actually 6 or 7 years ago, St. John Vianney Catholic Church in Rancho Cordova participates with the Rancho Cordova HART, Homeless Assistance Resource Team, and that parish invited Holy Family to participate as a host church for one of their weeks several years ago. And Deacon Mark Holt at Holy Family said yes, and he got me to help him on the committee, and with the understanding that we would then form a HART here in the city of Citrus Heights and begin our own winter sanctuary. So I was co-chair with Deacon Mark Holt, and now I'm chair, and I've been a board member during the formalization of Citrus Heights HART, and I've been president these last couple of years. So the churches are important because the churches are where we can spend the night, where we can open the doors literally and be prepared to offer hospitality, to have the space, to have the network of volunteers and people that are so important to keep the program open and available to our neighbors who are homeless, especially during the winter time.
So it is clear from the way you talk, it's kind of evident how your faith has led gradually to your involvement with HART's ministry to our unhoused neighbors. But does this also go the other way? Has your work with HART, has your work with unhoused people impacted your faith life?
Yes, greatly. I have found that it has impacted. She gave me these notes before, so I just want to make sure I don't miss any points. I think that the main thing is that I have found the courage to take steps to meet people literally where they're at, whether it's in the parking lot at CVS, in the parking lot at Rush Park. My husband has set boundaries on how far away or down into areas I can go, so I do try to be mindful of that. But I think the courage to take those steps and be very uncomfortable in a situation has been one of the greater gifts. Also, offering a broader perspective, being far more forgiving and understanding and willing to understand the frailties of our humanness. I have learned to never assume that I know what that person's challenges are. Why are they homeless? There are so many different reasons, and we just cannot know them all. I've grown to understand that there are situations that these folks are facing that there, but for the grace of God, go I. And being in the banking industry for so many years, I know how many people live literally paycheck to paycheck. And if they miss that paycheck, even for a week, for a month, they miss all of their bills, the evictions, all of that affects their credit history, their rental history. So many folks that you see literally surviving out there may be one paycheck away from living in their car. So we are working on helping with rental assistance programs as well to help keep folks in their home, because it's far easier and less expensive to keep folks in the home that they're in rather than to rehouse them after an event of homelessness.
Has all this work affected your language too?
Yes. For a long time, I spoke as I hear a lot of people speak, that we have to deal with these people. We have to deal with these problems. And instead of saying deal with these people, I've learned to say encounter. How do we encounter the person of Christ in the person standing before you without focusing on their homelessness, without focusing on how they smell, without focusing on what they're wearing or what they're not wearing, and trying to acknowledge them, the people, as our neighbors who literally live in our neighborhoods, but they don't have a mailing address. So it's been a shift in language, a shift in thinking.
So the next one is a little bit deviating off my script.
Oh, okay.
Surprise! Came out of listening to you. So we have recently become involved with the Chamber of Commerce, and if
yes.
When we attend meetings there, it's a whole different world. They don't think about nonprofits very often, but it's also. I think it makes me feel like a naive do-gooder. Would you respond to people that all of this is just naive?
I think it's a different perspective. And I think that naivete that you're speaking of is the confidence that we have in the love of God our Father, that brings us from a far more simple perspective of who our neighbor is and how we should be treating them, rather than dollars and cents, code enforcement, rental availability, curb appeal. These are the things that the Chamber of Commerce thinks of. Also, my understanding of how the world works that I've come to learn is that there are three very necessary elements in our society. There's the family, all of you. I love seeing the younger folks here. I particularly cherish seeing the older folks at Holy Family. I have a particular affection for the many widows that keep coming to church, and I'm so thankful to always see them. I say that they set a good example for me because I'm convinced my husband will pass before me. So it's in a joyful, participating, clear perspective. So we have the family, the families that raise up good people and people with strong understanding of their dignity as a beloved child of God. We also have the community of the church and proclaiming the gospel in the world, wherever we are, not just here on Sundays, but when you're a student at school, how do you act? When you're at Costco, sitting in line for gas, oh my gosh, what goes through your mind as that person is fumbling with their gas cap and such? So that living that spirit of church out in the world is very important, because the churches are the ones that have a preferential treatment for the poor. We pay attention to the poor. This is in history. The church is where the poor go for hospital. The church is where the poor go for meals and housing. The orphans are sent there. And then the third one is government. So civic organizations like Chamber of Commerce, the many civic clubs that I know many of you are active in, thank heavens, and the formal structure like the city or the police department. They make the laws and enforce the laws, but they are not necessarily equipped to feed the poor, to call the social justice call attention to the social justice challenges that our humanist brings to the world. So those three, I don't expect the civic government to do what the churches are here to do. And the churches are here to support the family, to raise up good people who do good things out in the world despite all of the challenges, because it's always hard. It doesn't get easy.
So in what you just said, you wove this innocent little phrase, preferential option for the poor. That rings a bell. That is a very, very Catholic phrase, and it comes out of Latin American liberation theology, Gustavo Gutierrez, Leonardo Boff, and others. And the belief that God particularly loves people poor at heart, mind, body. And for that reason, we are also called to practice love to poor people.
And follow the example of Jesus Christ, because those are who he served, who he healed, the crippled, the widowed, the sick, the possessed, the hungry. The
ones that are being stoned. Yep.
Yes.
So the next one is a little bit longer, the next question, and it's a little bit closer to a traditional sermon, so bear with me. So we most often look at Jesus' parable of the Good Samaritan by placing ourselves in the role of the Samaritan. We tend to read the story as Jesus' call to actively love our neighbors, including the ones who are not close to us. Just as the injured man was not close to the Samaritan. That's an important perspective. After all, Jesus tells this story in response to the question, who is my neighbor? What you have shared so far with us illustrates your willingness to be stretched by God. Use your willingness to expand your understanding of neighbors, to include our unhoused neighbors too. But I'm wondering, what might happen when we were to look at the same very well-known parable and place ourselves not into the role of the Samaritan, but into the role of the man who had been going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, fell into the hands of robbers, got stripped naked, beaten, and left to die by the side of the road? What if we are, like this man, harmed by our experiences, left to die, maybe not physically, but spiritually?
Definitely.
What might happen to us if we were to see God as the one coming to our aid and recruiting others to help us recover our wounds and heal? I invite you to look for a moment, Irene, at your ministry with HART from this perspective. How has God used people who have crossed your path over the years to bind up your wounds and to heal you?
Well, this was a challenging question, and it is an interesting perspective that I hope you all as well reflect upon, because I think that one of the main things that I found most healing is to forgive myself. I know I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. Thankfully, the consequences of my mistakes haven't put me out on the street, and it has allowed me to be more forgiving, to be more understanding of the human frailties, and to approach folks who are homeless with a greater understanding of, I don't know their background, and they don't know mine. So I think that being able to forgive myself has been great healing. And it's not all big things, it's the little things, every day that happen, or the small kindnesses that maybe could have been a larger kindness. But to just then continue and try to do better, and expect expect help when I need it, because when you pray to the Holy Spirit, it does come. It does come. Maybe not in our time, the time frame we expect, but it does arrive. So it's it has been able. So to answer the question, to be more forgiving of myself, which in turn I can be more forgiving and understanding of others. And it has offered healing, it's offered conviction and courage to continue with the work that is necessary.
So from your own experiences, do you have any suggestions for us individually and as a community?
I would say rely on the love that God has for us. Through his son, Jesus Christ, who also suffered, we can see how we and others around us, in our family, in our community, on the street, others have been stripped. They've been stripped of their dignity. They've been stripped of their worldly possessions. They've been stripped of their pride. They've been stripped of their health. How many times have we felt robbed? Our home has been burglarized, so we've been robbed of our peace of mind in that way. When have we felt robbed of our health, especially these last couple of years? So we can relate, and we can also find great comfort in knowing that the Good Samaritan par excellence, Jesus Christ, has come to bring healing, to soothe our wounds. He paid the price, not 2 denarii, not 2 silver pieces, but by his life, death, and resurrection. So in that wounded humanity, we know that in his incarnation, Jesus sits at the right hand of God with his scars, with his scourges, with his wounds, and brings our humanity to holiness and perfection, seated at the right hand of God, where we hope to be with him at some point. So I think that knowing Jesus got your back can give you great courage and fortitude to do maybe what you have not done before, and to do it with the reliance, or rather the confidence, that I might not get the conversation with the first homeless person I meet right, but maybe I'll get the second or the third one. And and not everybody is meant to go and talk to the folks, looking for aluminum cans out of the garbage can at the gas station. But Advent Lutheran has been so supportive in so many ways. Winter Sanctuary, we mentioned. When we had the
Student Connect.
Yeah. We're hoping to bring that back. The committee that drove that bus, so to speak, has been retired, and we are doing the student support in a different way through our underground clothing connection. Advent has been very helpful with the vaccinations, with Dignity Health that we held in the parking lot. Also the showers.
Food truck. We
had
had
a food truck.
Here, yeah?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
And then Advent has, I was speaking with, that you have been very supportive of our spaghetti dinners. So the spaghetti dinner is coming up in September. So that kind of support might be where you fit in. So.
Is there anything we haven't addressed yet? Anything that you would like to add to what you have said so far?
Not really. I think. Then I am happy to have additional conversation. I am planning to stay for the picnic after, I understand. And so I'm happy to answer questions about other things that we do. I have a more complete list that I can go over with you. But just know that in our brokenness, we cannot assume that we know that person pushing a cart. We can't assume we know that their whole story. And to just have a kind thought and a prayer for those folks when you see them. And when you have that in your mind, your heart will start to change.
Thank you so much for your willingness to come to us and to help us unpack this parable for us, for this place, this time.
It's a neat perspective to take. Very nice.